Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome back here in this reading. In this reading, we will definitely enjoy reading the story of Joanna Parisi. Was the last one left. The last living person in a family who had been market traders for hundreds of years. She was born in a village at the bottom of high mountains. Now, I want you to make sure that you're not just following for reading, because I'm not reading. I'm teaching you the pronunciation structure of English. It's very important, and you should, this idea should be born in your mind. It should be coming from you that trying to learn English without learning pronunciation is just a failed attempt. You have to embrace the fact that pronunciation is very important. It's part of the structure of English. I'll put this text in the chat box, in the content box where you can just enjoy completely the reading. But I'm just going to be presenting the beginning of this reading for you to understand it, to process and digest pronunciation. So she was born in a village at the bottom of high mountains, and she had lived there all her life. Her life. It's very important. This should be kept under your scrutiny. That when I stress this word, it's just because it's very important. At the top of the mountains, the stone fruit grew. In autumn, the fruit fell down. Of course, fell down. It was like in this altitude, and it just fell down from the tree of the mountains. Most of the stone fruit got lost, and no one could find them again. But some fruit fell into a small valley. Valley هو الوادي. Joanna's family were the only people who knew about the valley. Now, the valley هو الوادي. The verb knew, is the past of, or knew, is the past of to know. Now, why do we say knew or knew? Now, these two variations of pronunciation are American / Canadian / Australian / American, British, Australian, Canadian. All these nationalities say the words differently. And you need to understand that hammering your ears with constant listening to this kind of text is very important, because it's ultimately going to train your ears to process, to digest, to stomach a variety of accents, and not just being only conditioned mentally and phonetically to American or British and that's it. No, that's not enough. You need to embrace the fact that people talk in completely different ways, and every person distinctively is talking different. And by embracing that fact, you will definitely develop higher linguistic tolerance أو تحمل لغوي for accents and dialects, and being able to embrace that is so meaningful to people, to be culturally tolerant to a variety of, traditions and nations, because that is ultimately the goal of language, is to be able to tolerate other cultures and people and mindsets and understand them. So when the stone fruits fell from the trees, they were black and hard. They were black and hard. It took 4 long months. No, notice here, months. I'm not saying months, I'm saying just months, because it's easy, it's fluid, it's buttery to say it from your mouth. So don't overstress things. Now, as a teacher, of course, my case is a completely different case. It's another fish to fry, as we say in English. My case is overstressing the stressed and unstressed, because my goal is to teach you pronunciation. So graduating from this academy of pronunciation, you can freely and organically speak English. But in my class, hell no. You need to make sure, and I need to ensure, that I enhance your skills of pronunciation to a very cutting edge level. So you notice that I stress certain consonants, consonant clusters, vowels, diphthongs, and triphthongs, and a variety of phonetic conditions here, like, for example, the pitch, the intonation, the cadence, the rhythm, the rhyme scheme of, or the cadence of the flow of your speech. We overstress every nut and bolt of the structure of the sentence to cement it, to solidify it, to boost it with multivitamin pronunciation medicine, so to speak. So the idea of pronunciation from my academy, well, not my academy, because I'm not physically having any academy right now. I'm talking about listening to this damn thing that I'm presenting to you. It's so overstressed because this is the way I teach you the nuts and bolts of pronunciation, because it makes so much difference. And in Arabic, there's this saying, very quite smart. كل اختلاف في البناء هو اختلاف في المعنى. Now, that means, realistically, that any change in the structure implies a change in the meaning or reference. So, going back to square number one here, I'm not going to jump the wagon of advocating for certain accent, or as long as actually you're in the territory of pronunciation meaningfully, because the ultimate goal of pronunciation is to speak sound English. And to speak sound English means to communicate well. So to hell with speaking and to welcome communication. Communication is the essential element of understanding people. And if you make people understand you, you have achieved your goal. Do not exaggerate that. Just stick to that point. And it goes hand in hand with the kind of trends of modern life. Simplicity is in a nutshell, the ultimate goal of companies, the ultimate goal of philosophers, the ultimate goals of writers, because they always say anything that is unnecessary should be crossed out, should be deleted. So you need to understand that. And just, I'm not throwing on the table a narrative here of a long story and bore you to death with this kind of concept, as much as I'm trying to show you the metrics of pronunciation and the symmetry of this beautiful science, mixing it with a couple of tricks that I've learned over the course of time. I used to be a bad listener, and I still am a bad listener, because few things that are relevant to me subjectively speaking. But going back long months for them to become ripe. This is a plosive sound. So pebe, tede, kege, these kind of plosively oriented sounds should be catered for and ushered in the right position in your mouth to say them, to practice them. Now we have 10 fingers. I mean, at least I have 10 fingers in my hand. And, in Arabic, there's this kind of like worshiping of God rituals where they say, Subhanallah, 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 Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. And they keep doing that. But we as Muslims do this. So they are not like 99 times you do them. You just worship God, thank God, and say God is the greatest, Allah is the greatest. I use the same mechanism for my pronunciation of vocabulary. So when I say months, I'm not going to say only months, and then that's it. It's not about that. It's more of biology and mechanism of training that you have to consistently do So I say it 99 times, especially if a word that is not common or a word that I just need to train my mouth as a soldier in the counterterrorism division of the Iraqi army, just to be trained in a very combating battlefield environment. So I need to train my mouth to say it, to process it, to digest it, to spit it out in a way or another that just makes me exhaustively saturated and satiated with this kind of term. And plus, there's a collateral parallel thing that you might realize now or you may realize in the future. I'm throwing on the table vocabulary that you might have not heard of, just because the intention of this listening or podcast is to train your ears to listen to phrasal verbs, idiomatic expressions, collocations, quotes for like big pioneers in the field of language and linguistics, and also to ripen your mind to the philosophy that whatever theoretical thing is out there, it's just theoretical without empirical part to it or perspective. So just saying months only one time is not enough. You have to say it like 99 times or more. So to become ripe, they turn from black to gray. By the way, there are two ways to say gray. There's gray with A and gray with E, and they are interchangeably used between American and British people. The way with A, as far as I know, is American. So the way you know it, gray with A, for example, if it's written like that, it's an American. And the way you can remember it is mnemonically by thinking of American. The first letter in America or American is A. So gray starts with A. So it rhymes with American in the way of the transcription, not in the way of sound. So they're not phonemically or phonetically in alignment as far as they are transcription-wise that way partially. So, and finally, I'm not saying and finally. I'm clipping and cutting and blending and shortening and deleting D in and, because as I mentioned in the previous podcast with the yellow microphone, that and is a functional word. It's not a content word. So it gets marginalized. So there's minorities in the community, and sometimes they act as if they are marginalized. So, well, sometimes in some cases they get marginalized. But the idea is that in language, we treat words like people. Some people get, racially discriminated against. Some words get marginalized. Some words get really mistreated just because they do not carry that much meaning, to the point that I just want to say, and finally. So finally carries stronger meaning. It carries better value. So I just treat it differently. To silver, to silver, to silver, to silver. Then people could enjoy the sweet sun-colored fruit inside. Now you can guess the word sun-colored transcriptively. I'm not sure if that's a word, but transcription-wise, written in British style. The point to be made here, the case to be made here, the resting of this case is that this reading so far, it's almost one page, and I'm not feeling lazy to go through the rest of the pages, but I think presenting something and making the case for is far more superior to the inferiority of the fact that the elongation of reading might just bore you to death. When it was ripe, this stone fruit was delicious. So see, we are here in equilibrium of was and delicious. And I'm tilting the scale to delicious because it carries more content meaning. So it carries more linguistic value. It was the most popular food in the region. It was the most popular food in the region. It was the most popular food in the region. On market day, people got up early and queued. Look, queued. The word is queued. They stood in line, okay, for hours to buy it. Joanna's family always had more fruit to sell than anyone else. Now, I stressed a bit more had because it's a main verb. So it comes here as not as an auxiliary verb, but as a main verb, to sell than anyone else. Her family had made a lot of money by selling the fruit over the years. So we say over the years, not through the years, not in the years, not on the years, but over the years, as if it implies, metaphorically speaking, the fact that it is overshadowing as an umbrella over the whole number of years coming or that have passed. But they were not as rich as the market sellers who sold their products far away in the capital city. Far away in the capital city. Now, if some people scrutinize microscopically, far away, the concept of far away here is an adverbial phrase. Far away here is directing and distancing the statement locatively and spatially to say they sold their products far away in place and in time, because we're talking about past or present or future. These dimensions can be mentally processed as either distant or close from the perspective of the speaker. Now, so far we have done one page in almost 20 minutes analysis, but it's not the one page that I am shooting after. It's actually what ideas I present in the 20 pages that are coming, that is more important. So if you listen to me, if you listen to the pronunciation, I'm not advocating for being a perfectionist, but within the framework of English, the ultimate goal is not accent, it's to be communicating better so people can understand you. Do not over-exaggerate pronunciation. If you're not exaggerating pronunciation like me here, because my situation is completely different, you're in good ground. Within the framework, within the roadmap, within the rules of the game. As long as you're communicating better, as long as you're getting your point across, your ideas across to the listeners, to the watchers, you're in good hands. But trying to pretend, for example, that accent or dialect is superior, that's not true. Because if you go back to the standardized tests, internationally accredited, they do not put so much weight on accent and dialect. They put, if we take, for example, IELTS, they assess cohesion and coherence, task completion, lexical diversity, and grammatical range and accuracy. So these concepts are distant from being accentuated or compartmentalized within the concept of accent. You have to have this idea in your mind and principally work according to it. If you like this lesson, please subscribe to my channel. We will be doing a consecutive workshop on these kind of things we are going to present to you, and hopefully they're going to make a lot of sense to people who are just driving in their cars and they want to listen to something without feeling distracted by just looking at the text, but by more training your ears. One last tip. If you want to train your ears, don't train your ears through your eyes. You have to train your ears through ears. So you need to stop watching TV shows and increase your amount of time to listening to podcasts in English, whether it's me, and if you don't like me, you can switch to other ones. There are great teachers available online in every country who can present so great amount of information for free. So language courses are like the air and water. They're free. And remember something. The best institute to teach you English is YouTube. Thank you very much.